Okay, so I think that I might have just found quite possibly the best deal ever. I still don't know what to make of it. Stick around and I'm going to tell you this story. I went up to the coin shop earlier. I was just looking around, you know, I'll always pop in. I'll say, what's your face value on junk silver? What's the price for generic rounds? Do you got any fractional gold? Those are kind of the usual hits, but I'll always look around and just see what's in the case today. And I saw a piece and I didn't know what it was in the case like this. So I could see that it was the Royal Mint once I got close enough, but I really couldn't make out what this coin was. It was one that I'd never seen before. And when I asked the dealer, he actually didn't even know what it was either. And so I started looking, asked him if he could pull it out, and he did. At that point, I noticed that on the top of the box, we have United Kingdom Proof Sovereign. But in looking at it, I'm like, that's no sovereign that I've ever seen before. And he had a couple of loose sovereigns out right next to it. So I pull this thing out. While I'm trying to figure out what this is, he immediately grabs it, pops off the capsule, puts his dirty hands all over it, throws it onto the scale. Literally throws it onto the scale, and it shows 8 grams. So, you know, around 90%, 8 grams comes out to being the weight of a 1 sovereign, right around 0.235 troy ounces of gold. He doesn't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And I start inspecting a little bit closer, and I see it says, let's see if we can get a good zoom here, guys. It says 1489 to 1989. So I'm like, all right, now we know it's a 500th anniversary, and in fact it actually says anniversary right here. What I think that it says is anniversary of first gold sovereign, and as it turns out, that's exactly what this is. On this side we have Elizabeth II, and to be honest, I don't even know what this says. I'm gonna have to pull this thing out of the capsule for you all, so stick around and you'll be able to see this thing come out of the capsule, and we'll be able to see, did the dealer get his fingerprints on the proof field? I'm really hoping not. But this here on the back is a crest, and it's called the Tudor Rose, Tudor Rose. From what I can find on the internet, this design was actually the original design from 1489. And if you don't know this, the Royal Mint has been around for like 1200 years. So I cannot find this thing for sale anywhere. The only thing that I've been able to find is the actual case on eBay. And this case alone, you know, this might not be in perfect condition and there is no COA with it, but just this original packaging, the last comp that I saw sold for 75 bucks plus like $25 shipping. But I'm skipping around a little bit. So I'm still at the shop. Dealer can't figure out what it is. I can't figure out what it is. I'm not even sure I have enough cash in my wallet if I wanted to pull the trigger on it. So I asked him a price. He gave it to me. Bought a couple dollars worth of face, some Walking Liberty halves and Benjamin Franklin halves. And then I just headed home. And I couldn't stop thinking about this thing. So I looked it up. I saw that there is a website on the Royal Mint and some other dealers. But of course, everything's out of stock. But anytime that I saw this coin for sale, the price was listed at like $2,000 to $3,000. Granted, it's hard to trust those prices because they don't actually have it in stock, so they're really not actually selling it at that price. But typically what you find is that those prices are lower than what it would actually be sold for in reality if it was in stock. I was able to determine based on that it looks like there were just over 10,000 of these made, and the original mintage was supposed to be larger. I do know that there was a set of the proof sovereigns, so like a half sovereign, 1, 2, and 5. And so the more that I see this, the more that I'm interested, the more I'm excited about it. The price that he quoted me, I think, was only like 10% premium over spot. Not too bad at all. So anyways, I couldn't resist. I found the cash and I decided, you know what, I'm going back. So I called him up. I said, I'll be back. Hold on to that sovereign for me. And I went in. After he tricked me for a second, made me think that he had already sold it, he whipped it out and he told me the price, and it was way cheaper than the original price that he had quoted. So now I'm at the point where I literally just bought this thing for the exact same price that he was selling the loose, standard, ungraded sovereigns in the case right next to it. In the capsule, the only year that this design was made for the 500th anniversary. Can't even find one online. Comes with the original packaging. I'm just kind of shocked and excited, and I've always had good deals on gold at this local coin shop. For him, he just looks at it as bullion and he just kind of makes a little bit of money on the flip, and that's all there is to it. Maybe if this was a private individual, I would feel a little weird about it, but it's a dealer. He knows more about this stuff than I do, so if he wants to sell it for that price, then so be it. You know, I'm a good customer. I'm always supporting the shop, and who knows, maybe I had a big score here. Beautiful presentation, and we are actually going to pull this thing out of the capsule right now. Except we're going to be a little bit more delicate than my dealer was. We need to take this thing out of the capsule. Okay, so I figured out the problem. Basically, it looks like he jammed this capsule back together when in reality, it needs to be unscrewed. Here we are. Just look at this thing. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I got to throw on these gloves and I'm going to start pulling this out. Okay, here we are. The moment of truth. Oh my god. If you guys could have felt what my heart just felt when that thing fell out. These gloves are such a double-edged sword. You know, they prevent my hand grease and oils from getting on the coin, but it's so hard to grip anything, and that capsule just flew out of my hand with the coin. And the old heart skipped a beat there. I have had the chance to go out and do a little bit more research online and figure out just a little bit more. We flipped it around. Yeah, you can kind of see here that the field is leaves a little bit to be desired. You can tell it's not like a perfect mirror-proof finish, and honestly, it looks like the dealer's fingers, you know, rubbing all over it. It's a hard balance, right? Like when you're about to buy a coin, you don't own it at that point. The dealer owns it, and so however they want to handle it is how they handle it, and then it's up to you whether you're willing to purchase it or not. My immediate thought was to flip this thing as quickly as possible, but now I'm really thinking about keeping it in my collection. What a fantastic looking coin. As promised, we're going to go ahead and weigh this coin. Here we go. So we have 0.258 troy ounces. Let's see what that looks like in grams. So it's a little bit more than 8 grams. This is what we would expect to find in a sovern. And if you want one of these scales for yourself, just check out the link in the description. Wow. This crest, called the Tudor Rose, was the default for the sovrans, and these things were literally being made before Columbus sailed the ocean blue. It really makes you appreciate the history. We are not the first people to appreciate the beauty and the value of gold coins and precious metals. If anything, I might say that we live in the age of the least appreciation for precious metals and coins made out of gold and silver. Let's try to get a good look at these edges here. Nice and clean and crisp. You know, you obviously don't expect to see this type of quality with a typical sovern, especially one that's been circulated. Of course, this was made in 1989, so like every other coin for the past half century, Elizabeth II is on it. So we have Elizabeth's name right here, but then we also have Dei Gra, which is short for Gratia, Reg, which is short for Regina, which means queen. If this was a male, it would be Rex for king. And the meaning of that phrase in Latin, Dei Gratia Regina, is basically like, by the grace of God, queen. Of course, in the same year, they also made half sovereigns. They made 2 sovereigns and 5 sovereign coins that they sold 3-piece sets as well as 4-piece sets. So with any highly numismatic precious metals, it's really important that you do a ping test. So I'm going to take this rusty old screwdriver and go ahead and give it a good ping and see what noise it makes. Y'all know I'm not that crazy. According to Numista, this coin's value in the proof uncirculated condition exceeds $1,300 US. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, I didn't pay that much for it.
Not even close.
And that makes me happy. Time for this thing to go back from whence it came. Let me know what's going on in the comments below. Did I really strike big here, or is it just kind of a normal sovern and not really anything to write home about? That's the story. Silver forever. Out.